Good afternoon. How's everybody doing? I'm going to be doing the latest Soprano review, but before I do, let me give a quick shout out to Ratchet. Ratchet's our sponsor. They're a clothing company out of the UK. Ratchet has men, women, and children's clothing. Check them out. I'll put a link down below and you could go on and check them out. The holidays coming, maybe you want to buy somebody something. So in the latest Soprano review, which is season 1, episode 6, it starts out with Tony Soprano meeting with the crooked lieutenant, trying to get an update on Dr. Melfi. And the only really thing he has to tell him is her shopping habits. He gives him a few dollars and sends him on his way. And he heads right over to his next therapy session with Dr. Melfi. And she questions him on how his trip was with his daughter Meadow at the colleges. And he sidesteps that and starts speaking about the trouble that he's having in his marriage, specifically that his wife is jealous of Dr. Melfi, being that she's a woman, being his doctor, which prompts her to question him. And she questions him by saying, what's the one thing that every woman, your mother, your wife, your daughter have in common? And I was laughing by the answer that he gave her that most men would. He said, they all break my balls. So in the next scene, Junior's guy, Mikey, walks into a card game and starts beating up the host right away. And the guy turns around and mentions a name. And let me just say that not everything in that life is about violence. You know, we used to have a saying, there's plan A and plan B. Plan B is always to be that you could become violent. All situations don't call for walking in and slapping people around and beating people up or worse. They could be handled with messages. So the guy mentions a name. That should have been it right there. Mikey Palmesi, now I now understand, is a friend in that life, which means he's a made member. Now he goes and reaches out to whoever the name of the guy the host mentions. That's obviously who the host is with, and they straighten it out with messages and words. But that's not what happened. So he questions this guy while he's on the floor, and he wants to know who is earning off of this card game. The guy admits that he's not kicking up to nobody, which is not a good thing in that life. And then this Mikey divulges that Junior Soprano is the new boss and he ain't respecting old arrangements. I would have to say that's a very inaccurate scene. Who's going to announce to all, and let me just state for the record, the guy on the floor, all the guys playing cards, they're considered civilians in that life. They're not part of that life. And to make an announcement and let civilians know who the new boss of a family is just over the top. But anyway, the next scene has Junior Soprano getting measured up for a suit, and the tailor begins to tell him about his grandson who committed suicide as a result of getting sold, I think, designer drugs. And Junior wants to make an example of this guy, and he puts up this Mikey to the task. Ultimately, Mikey catches up with this drug dealer by the name of Rusty Irish and tosses the guy off a bridge, killing him. What I found to be unbelievable about this scene is that he did it in front of witnesses. There was a couple of black guys that were hanging out in the area, and they witnessed this whole thing. And then he walks over to them and hands the guy $100 bill and tells him, like, basically, you didn't see anything. I think that we all know in real life, when the police come to investigate this, the guy's going to have, as he's telling them the story with the $100 in his pocket, he's going to be telling on him. And that scene wasn't so believable for me. Next, Tony Soprano is with his Russian Gumata, which is his girlfriend, Irina, and he has a problem getting an erection. And to cover that up, he tries to tell her, let's just talk. She gets insulted. She throws a candle at him. It's a whole scene. But lately, he's been having these sexual dreams that have to do with Dr. Melfi. And again, he's at Dr. Melfi's office, and he's blaming it on the Prozac that she's giving him. And she confirms that impotence is part of, impotence is part of, is like a side effect of the drug. And so changing subjects, she at one point mentions that she has car trouble. He gets her car stolen and gets a new starter put in. And later on, she questions him if that was him, and he admits it. He admits it to her, and she's very upset. Obviously, he took her car without permission, and they made an agreement that he can't give her any kind of gifts. But he basically tells Dr. Melfi that he's in love with her, which was threw me for a loop. And she kind of explains it to him that the reason why he has feelings for her this way is because she listens to him, and she kind of represents everything that all the women in his life don't represent. And she basically tells him, let's address this the next time, kind of putting him off. And he walks away a little, looks like he's a little disappointed. Now, this guy Hesh, from the way I see it, is with Tony Soprano. So I didn't really get how his uncle Junior Soprano is putting pressure on him and kind of taxing him on his Sherlock business, his loan sharking business. And this Hesh tells Tony Soprano that Junior wants 500,000 and he wants 2 points on every loan sharking loan that he puts out or has out, which is significant money. And Tony Soprano promises him that he's going to look into it. He meets up with this Johnny Sack from he's a New York underboss. And this guy quickly realizes that Junior Soprano is not the guy. Junior Soprano is just the guy that they have up in front, kind of as the acting boss. But Tony Soprano is running the family from behind the scenes. They kind of come up with a plan of how they're going to go about handling Junior with the situation. A sit-down's held between Tony Soprano, excuse me, obviously Junior, Hesh, and this guy, Johnny Sachs. And Junior agrees to pay now 200 to accept 250,000 instead of the 500, and he's going to take 1.5 points. He's happy. But Tony Soprano's crew is complaining about Junior. Not only his crew, but the captains in the family are complaining about Junior being greedy. And he takes Junior to the side, kind of at, I think it was like a little league game, excuse me. And he begins to try to tell him through a story about Augustus, the first Roman emperor, excuse me. And Junior agrees, and he decides that he's going to take Hesh's money and he's going to whack it up, divide it between the captains and the family, giving them all 50,000. Tony Soprano goes back, and this scene is very important to me. Tony Soprano goes back to Hesh and explains what's going to be and what Junior did with the money, Hesh's money, right? The 250,000. And he basically tells them, look, he gave 50,000 to each captain, which includes Tony Soprano. And this guy Hesh kind of looks a little down because he's knowing that now his good dear friend, Tony Soprano, pocketed 50,000 of his money. And Tony Soprano hands him back the 50,000 and said, you think I would take your money? Which to me showed his character, it showed his loyalty, it showed his friendship. And in that life, those things come before money and become before greed. Unfortunately, that's not how the life turned out today and the way it is today. There's very, very few guys like the character Tony Soprano that will go in their pocket and give the guy back that amount of money. I love that scene. Lastly, and I was very surprised and a little saddened in a way to see an old friend of mine, Anthony Corozzo. Now, the scene is in a banquet hall, and the actor, James Gandolfini, is sitting at a table, and right next to him, and I put it in the, if you haven't read, sitdownnews.com, go look at, I'll put the link down below. In the picture to Tony Soprano's left is Anthony Corozzo. I've known Anthony since I was a young little kid. Anthony is the brother of Nicky Corozzo, who was slated to be the boss at one time of the Gambino family. He's the brother of Jojo Corozzo, the former consigliere of the Gambino family, and Blaze Corozzo, who happens to be Anthony's twin, who is a friend with the Gambino family. And Anthony was a jeweler by trade, but he was in some small parts. One was a Bronx Tale. I believe the scene was when they were in the basement throwing dice. He's in that scene as well. And I bought many pieces of jewelry from Anthony throughout the years. I really liked Anthony and respected him. He knows my whole family, my mother, my father, since they're kids from East New York. And I was saddened to hear of his passing not too long ago. He had an accident when he was younger, and this later turned into Alzheimer's, and he ultimately did pass, and may God rest his soul. And back to the scene, the ending of the scene is Tony Soprano is toasting his uncle Junior. And unbeknown to everyone, the FBI has either their own people or they have plants that are in as waiters. And one of the waiters has a camera hidden in his lapel, and he's taking pictures of the whole Borgata and the whole administration because they're all there. And Tony Soprano continues with the toast. Once again, an inaccurate depiction because he's speaking in front of waiters. What would typically happen is the waiters would serve everybody their drinks and get told to take a walk. The doors would be closed, and then he could, somebody would make a statement or talk. They're not going to do this, or they should never do this in front of waiters. And as this is all going on, the waiters and this guy's taking his pictures, and he makes this announcement that a toast to our new boss, salute, which he's announcing to the waiters as well. And that was the show. I hope everyone enjoyed it. Sorry, I have a little bit of something going on with a cough. I hope everyone enjoyed it. I'll continue to do it as everyone asks me to. I hope everyone enjoys the rest of their day. I'm going to go about mine. Till the next time. Ciao for now.